I started doing drag in August of 2017. My friend saw something that I did, like makeup-wise, and was like, well, do you want to audition for Thursday Night Cast at Play Louisville? So I was like, well, I've never done this before, but I'll try it. So I said yes. I got the audition. I got the spot on the cast with that audition, and I've been doing drag on every other Thursday at Play ever since. It's a lot of things that I wish I could be on a regular basis that are just like bigger and louder and more intense and extravagant and all those things. And then, you know, in regular life, it's kind of hard to be like that sometimes. It's hard to be as outgoing as you want to be, or to be as unapologetic. The goal for me isn't to look like the most beautiful woman in the room. It's kind of to make everybody wonder how this strange creature got into the room in the first place. My drag queen persona is a gay woman. I don't know if I've explained this before, but basically, when I go about my day-to-day life, most people think I'm a guy. That is questionable in and of itself, but that's how most people read me. I am generally interested in men, but not always. But when I get on stage, people perceive me as a woman. And I want to be perceived as the most gay possible, so when I'm on stage, I tend to do a lot of songs about women being attracted to women. It also just so happens that I perform on Ladies' Night and the audience is full of lesbians, so it all works out. As a trans person, like, there's so many times where the way that people perceive my gender is not within my control, and drag is one of the times where I can really, like, play with it, have fun with it, and everything that the audience sees is something that I have control over, that I put forward, so I can give the exact, you know, message or idea that I want to when I'm performing on stage. And I think that's a really cool part about drag. For me, drag is just a very special artistic outlet because it can involve any type of performance that you want it to be. You know, you can draw inspiration from burlesque or from rock and roll, from comedians. You can focus your artistry on costume making or on your makeup skills. There are so many different elements of drag that people have their own specialties, and that's what they become known for, and there's a really wide range of things that constitute what is drag. Really, how much work goes into everything that a performer does on stage. The number of times that you listen to a song on loop just to get a certain moment right. You know, and maybe some of it's just the way that I reacted when I was thrown into the kind of performance environment that I was in, where I was doing 4 numbers every show, and, you know, also working full-time, and doing all of the other things that I do. Fitting all of that in there is definitely challenging. A lot of the hobbies that I already had were, before I even started drag, were crafting and artsy related, so I kind of channel those into creating drag now. I do a lot of putting patches on punk jackets and bedazzling things, and that was kind of what I did already with my life, so I'm like, oh, well, now I can just do this and wear it on a stage. I do a lot more theatrical movement. I interact with the audience a lot, and I let my kind of facial expression and body language tell a story when I'm up there. Use all the resources you have and don't go overboard on things that you don't necessarily need. Be smart about building your wardrobe and your supplies and everything. Borrow things when you need to, and commit and be unafraid.
My drag name is Sophia Santana. Sophia comes from the Italian actress from the 60s, Sophia Loren. And then Santana is just, I like names that, like, sound good, and, like, it's that kind of, like, cadence to it, like Sophia Santana. And so I just thought Santana sounded good with Sophia. I have been doing drag in kind of like closet drag for like a couple of years, just kind of practicing makeup, with, like, a little mirror in my room. But I started performing this summer in a competition called Drag Me to Fame at Play Louisville, where I placed second. And it was just a really great experience to kind of throw myself into the drag world, get a chance to make a lot of good costumes, like, in a couple weeks. And I just kind of did it to see how far I could go with it. I ended up becoming Jay Jolie's drag daughter because of it. So instilling a little bit of like confidence into the gay community through performance art. And I think that like I'm always like the most like touched by a drag performance whenever the performer is just so like almost like surhumanly like confident. Like they're so sure of themselves, they are so believing in like the performance that they're doing, that I don't know, I think that's what drag is kind of originally intended to be for like the gay community, like the ball scene in like New York, where it's like I dress up as a fashion executive, so I'm a fashion executive. It's like I am what I am because I say I am. The amount of creepy old men on Facebook that are willing to have a conversation with like a complete stranger. People are a lot more willing to talk to you than you'd think, because I guess like generally like the feeling is if you like wear like a crazy costume, people are just kind of avoid you. But I find that most people just really like drag, and it's just very visually stimulating. So pain. None of my tights have like full feet anymore. Like I cut the toes off of like all of my tights, because like with drag and padding and like body contouring and everything, you wear like 10 or so tights over like pads over your legs, and then you stuff your legs into boots. And so it seems like it would make it easier to wear high heels, but it just makes it harder because like your toes are just being like so constricted. But that's like a really big that's probably the biggest component of drag that makes it different from any other art form, is just you're constantly in pain. With corseting, wigs, everything, it's just not like the most comfortable. Mm-hmm. For like the longest time, I thought that every drag performer was just naturally gifted with like that like perfect female body.
Yeah.
But no, there's a lot of subtle illusion that you don't really get to understand until you've like been in the scene for a while. My favorite part is probably interacting with the audience. I like to think I make that a hallmark of most of my performances, but it's a good way to kind of just like it's an extension of your drag character beyond like the stage, when you can just meet people like at the bar and just kind of, you know, amp up the charm, make them have a better time at the bar. You know, it's a fun time. Outside of drag, I'm a costume designer. I work at the costume shop at the University of Louisville. It's so much fun. My like director, her name is Jana Goldenthal, and she's this like, she's like Edna Mode in The Incredibles. She's like this Russian woman who's like super stern but like not authoritative. She's amazing. Louder. I'm more or less just like myself, but just kind of, you know, a little bit less inhibited. I think that's another drag it's like not a different person, it's just like a magnified version of you. So at least if I do have to pick one thing that I think is like significant or would be of note difference, is I just try to be a little bit stupider as Sophia. I think drag is like inherently just like not taking yourself seriously, and I think just like I try not to take any part of what I do seriously. As stupid as that may sound. You can still do drag on like a budget if you know how to construct clothing and if you know how to like get a good pull from like Goodwill. But what an audience really responds to is hard work, and they know if you've put like 10 minutes into a performance, like just thrown a dress on, picked a like top 40 song, they can see right through that. But if you like actually take the time to like invest your energy into like thinking of a good concept, making a good like accurate costume for it, and then like even choreographing a little bit, which I'm horrible at, but I think that's what audiences most respond to, and I think that's what any new queen should strive to achieve a good work ethic.